Good morning and welcome, or this may be good afternoon for some of you. We have a few minutes until we get started. I just wanted to make sure everything was working properly, but would love to hear who's out there. Where are you in the world, and what do you do for a living? Are you a fitness professional? Are you a medical professional? Maybe you are just interested in having a healthier life, or perhaps you yourself have cancer and are wanting to learn more. I'm Andrea Leonard. I'm the president and founder of the Cancer Exercise Training Institute, but I am also a 36-year cancer survivor. So reach out to me, keep me busy for the next 3 minutes. Tell me who you are and where you are. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here in silence until we start. So, okay, somebody's writing, yay. Hi, Anne. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you've been catching the webinars with Dan Ritchie also. It's just such a great combination, you know, with functional aging and cancer exercise. Hey, Amy, welcome. Ooh, Greece, yes. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Jan. It's all right. We have snow here for you still. Sorry to hear that about your dad. On November 13th, it'll be the 6-year anniversary of my dad's passing. Hello, Munaza. Am I pronouncing it right? From Pakistan. Welcome. And Kathy, of course, my alma mater, Ocean City. I know, actually my alma mater is University of Maryland, but Ocean City, yes. Welcome, Christine. Yeah, I think, you know, many of us, whether you realize it or not, have clients with cancer. It's just that a lot of people don't tell us. And, you know, there's not much we can do about that. But really important, you know, when you start working with somebody, to get a really thorough health history and sometimes even ask the question. You know, for example, if somebody gives me a health history questionnaire and they don't list any orthopedic conditions, I say, really? You don't have any issues with your neck, your back, oh yeah, I forgot I had a lumbar laminectomy. And so sometimes, you know, hey, you know, have you dealt with any diseases? Welcome, Jocelyn and Anne. Okay, guys, it is 11 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock Eastern, and I'm sure it's all different times all around the world. So thank you so much for joining me. I know some of you were with me the other day, and appreciate your willingness to learn, and hopefully I have some good information for you, and that you've also been getting to sit in on Dan Ritchie's webinars with functional aging. Excuse me. So just a real general statement here, but oh so true, that staying active can actually help anyone to lower their risk of many types of cancer. And there are you know, more and more studies being conducted that, you know, we started off where it just prevented, I think they had correlated it with like 3 different cancers. And now we are working our way up above 13 that are directly related to a reduction because of exercise. And one of the things is that being overweight or obese is directly connected with these different types of cancer. So the International Agency on Research on Cancer, which is part of the World Health Organization, has identified these 13 types of cancer. So myeloid leukemia, multiple myeloma, which actually is a cancer that produces gaping holes in the bones, which are referred to as lytic lesions. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with somebody with multiple myeloma, but it is almost like working with somebody that is made of glass, because I, for example, was supposed to start training somebody and they bent over and literally fractured both of their hips. And so it is critical that they do exercise, but as a fitness professional, you really need to understand all of the intricacies of working with that particular type of cancer patient. So just a little side note there. Cancer of the esophagus, and basically all cancers of the head and neck, specific correlation with postmenopausal breast cancer, gallbladder, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, kidney, ovarian, uterine, and then colon and rectum or colorectal. So granted, we have so many different types of cancer, and this is only 13 of them, but the studies continue on. And that would be Kaya. We go through 27 different types of cancer in the cancer exercise specialist training, which are the most common cancers that we see. And we break it down into the various surgeries, treatments, all of the acute and chronic side effects, and basically everything you need to know, and then some. But one of the reasons that researchers believe there is a correlation with obesity and cancer is largely because of inflammation caused by visceral fat. And that's the fat that is surrounding our vital organs, and primarily in our stomach area, our belly. So inflammation is a real key word these days as far as immunocompromisation and just basically dis-ease, of course, disease. And these, what we're going to call intra-abdominal fat cells, they have a direct effect on the liver, and they are linked to what we call metabolic syndrome. So this puts people at a higher risk of diabetes, elevated cholesterol and lipids, and cardiovascular disease. Now, although I'm talking primarily about cancer prevention right now, it's important to know that these are also comorbidities associated with a cancer diagnosis and cancer treatment. So, for example, if you have a client who has undergone chemotherapy, just chemotherapy alone, they will have an elevated risk for diabetes, osteoporosis, damage to the heart and lungs, future cancers. And then you can combine that with radiation, which also can cause damage to the heart and lungs, the hormonal therapies, which cause an increased risk of osteoporosis. So with each of these, there are always kind of a chain reaction of comorbidities. So, being overweight doesn't just increase your risk for cancer, it increases your risk for disease. And then, of course, if you have cancer and the treatments you undergo, they just exacerbate that. So it's somewhat of a vicious cycle, unfortunately. And it's like this little spectrum here. So it may start off with an infection for some people. Others may have chronic irritation, and this leads to overall inflammation. A process called oxidative stress, which I'm going to talk about, and then each of these combined increase the risk of cancer. So when you look at each of these, we have to ask, what can we actually affect? What can we do to control any of these? So obviously, fighting off infection, having a strong immune system is critical. And that kind of goes along with chronic irritation. And then inflammation, diet, and of course, I'm here to talk to you about exercise. And I'll share with you oxidative stress and what we can do to minimize the amount of oxidative stress we have. So I'll get to that slide in just a few, but let's talk about what inflammation is actually doing to our bodies. The inflammation that's caused by obesity can actually affect our insulin response. So we see people who have what we call insulin resistance. And when the body is not responding to the production of insulin the way that it should, it's going to produce more insulin to make up for it. So much like cancer cells multiply out of control, okay, we see, a similar thing where if insulin isn't being utilized properly, then the body responds by producing more. So you have this out of control scenario again. And then the increase in insulin due to the resistance can actually lead to cancer. It can increase the risk of, not the risk, it can increase the amount of available estrogen. And that is a direct correlation with certain cancers, not all. Okay. Um, I don't know if any of you guys have personally experienced or worked with clients who've had breast cancer who are what we call estrogen receptor positive. Have any of you dealt with that? Go ahead and write that in the chat box if you care to share. So what happens here is if you think of a cancer cell, there are all these little receptors on it. And the estrogen comes along and attaches to these receptors, which can in fact cause that cancer to grow and grow more rapidly. So one of the ways to treat that is to basically block the receptors through hormonal ablation, which means to stop or minimize the production of estrogen, so that it's almost like putting fake receptors there so that it can't attach. Let me look and see. I see two responses here. So, okay, Maria and Jan. So, you know, a lot of that can be affected by diet as well. And this is why it's really important. If you're a fitness professional and you are working with cancer patients, even if you've, you know, got a performance nutrition certificate or you've taken courses on nutrition, if you are not a registered dietitian, you need to be really careful about making dietetic recommendations, because although the jury's kind of out and there's, you know, a lot of gray area, phytoestrogens like soy products I'm saying may, cause cancer cell growth. And there truly is a lot of gray. I don't think anybody can really agree on whether or not that is fact or fiction. Now, I did just see somebody's hand go up, and because this is not a meeting setting, I can't have you unmute. So if you wouldn't mind writing your question in Q&A, that would be awesome. So Anne, how do you feel about DHEA, checking blood levels and then supplementing? I think checking blood levels is critical. And you know, I know there are different companies that now do blood labs, and I absolutely believe in that. I don't think there is, you know, one medicine for everybody or one treatment plan. And I don't think there's one diet or one, you know, supplement plan for everybody. So blood levels are a great way to determine the specific needs of an individual. Margaret, are you saying that you cannot hear me properly? I don't know what fix the audio now means. Is anybody having an issue with the audio? Just let me know. Okay, okay. So I'm not sure, Margaret, it may be your reception. I don't know if anybody else is having a problem. So I apologize if it's not coming through properly, but I have no control over it. Stem cell therapy, you know, again, I don't know a ton about it, but I do believe they are making remarkable strides with stem cell therapy, you know, as it pertains to many different areas, not just cancer. So all of these things, I am not a firm believer in any, you know, Eastern medicine or Western medicine. I think you have to look at a combination of both, and everybody's going to make their own choices. You know, having had cancer, I have my perspective. My mother currently has stage 4 breast cancer, and she's not all that interested in hearing everything that I know. One of my favorite books is called Radical Remission. And, you know, of course, it's about remission from cancer. But whether you have cancer or you just want to lead a healthier lifestyle, it covers everything from, you know, stress management, prayer, nutritional supplementation, herbs, even just taking control of your own medical care. And I think it's a really valuable read for anybody. So, okay, I'm going to get back on track and then I'll continue to look for your questions. So we talked about the link with estrogen, and higher estrogen levels lead to an increase in cell production, which ultimately results in tumor growth. So I was speaking specifically about breast cancer. However, right now I'm talking about all cancers and just higher levels of estrogen. And this is in both men and women. All right, as promised, oxidative stress. Now, if you were to create a handout with these bullet points, this could be a truly valuable um, gift that you can share with anybody, or perhaps you do your own PowerPoint or webinar on oxidative stress, because I don't think people realize how we are affected by our environment, by everything that's around us, everything that we eat, that we breathe, that we put on our skin, that we surround ourselves with. So oxidative stress is referring to toxic chemical compounds and pollutants in our body. And we know that it can be linked to hydrogenated fats. You'd have to be living under a rock to not know that hydrogenated fats are unhealthy. All kinds of pollution. So this is air pollution, pollution of our water, even pollutants in our food, because our food, of course, especially if it's produce, is grown with whatever water source, or, we had the Monsanto huge lawsuit because the chemicals that they were using were linked to so many different cases of cancer. And when you think about it, and this is a little off the beaten path, but I mean, who would have ever given consideration, and I'm sorry, man, if I'm offending you here, to tampons or female, hygiene products, that they could have chemicals in them that were carcinogenic? I mean, ladies, did you ever in your life think about that? In all the years of having a menstrual cycle, that you were putting something in your body that could potentially be carcinogenic. Sheila is asking, is it safe to use the estrogen patch while in menopause? So this is going completely out of my scope. I am not a doctor, and I'm focusing on fitness, but let me just give you my opinion. An estrogen patch is estrogen replacement. So for some people, that may increase your risk of breast cancer. So whether you're taking an estrogen patch or Primpro or bioidentical hormones, that's a chance. I have a high risk factor or high incidence in my family with cancer, and then specifically with breast cancer. My mom's had it 3 times. I actually went to the doctor a couple weeks ago because I had such bad brain fog, and I attributed it to perimenopause or menopause. And he said, okay, well, let's try Primpro for a month and see how you feel. And so I went on it, and it absolutely cleared up my brain fog. But when I went back to him and said, okay, well, the month's over, now what? He said, well, you have to decide, is it worth the risk to you? And I decided for me, it was not. So I would do your research on that, and talk to your medical provider. Although I wouldn't give them carte blanche on deciding what's good for you. You need to do your own research. So, Anne, I will not be emailing the slide deck. However, we will be emailing the recording. Okay. All right. So moving on with oxidative stress here. Oils that are heated to a very high temperature. So I believe with olive oil, if it's heated over 375 degrees, there is a potential for it becoming carcinogenic. So there are better oils that you can cook with, like avocado oil or coconut oil, and perhaps use olive oil for lower temperature cooking, or for, cold salads and that type of thing. Obviously, cigarette smoking, directly inhaled or secondhand. And that also goes along with chewing tobacco, pipes, cigars. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, well, I'm not inhaling it. That doesn't mean you're not going to get some form of cancer. You can get oral cavity cancer, esophageal cancer, pharyngeal cancer, laryngeal cancer. And I tell people, if you smoke, if you use any tobacco products, it's not a question of if you will get cancer or emphysema or, COPD. It's a question of when. And keep in mind also that cigarettes are not just linked to lung cancer. My father had bladder cancer, and they said there was a direct correlation with smoking. And of course, he had COPD and diabetes and prostate cancer, and ultimately myelodysplastic disease, which was a pre-acute myeloid leukemia. Dehydration is a big one. And for so many different reasons, we need to hydrate. Obviously, we're made up of 75% water. So we must make sure that our clients in particular are staying hydrated. And if they are at risk for lymphedema, which is swelling of the extremity after lymph node removal or irradiated, really important that they're drinking fluid regularly, which will help them minimize the fluid retention as well. Too much sugar and or alcohol. Obviously, this is going to have a tremendous effect on insulin production and also potentially body fat. And then alcohol is actually designated as a known carcinogen now. So there, I'm not going to go too far off into this, but people who drink a certain number of drinks per day, per week, increase their risk of cancer. And alcohol also increases the amount of estrogen. So women who drink, I think it's 2 to 3 drinks a day, increase their risk of breast cancer exponentially. So a little bit of food for thought there. Too much animal protein. So obviously eating lean meats and fish and those types of things. I don't think you really count a fish as an animal, but anyway, eating lean meats and then minimizing the amount of meat that we have in our diets. And lastly on this list is geophysical stress. So if you are living near power lines or waste dumps, we've all seen the movies, Aaron Brockovich, and then can't remember the other one I just watched. I think it was called Black Water, about the DuPont treatment plant. So, you see large groups of people in specific areas getting different types of cancer, and it could very well be due to some form of oxidative stress in their area. So what does this have to do with exercise? It's not directly related to exercise, but obviously, diet and exercise go hand in hand. And so I think this is an important piece to be aware of and to cover. And stress, dear God, how many of you, and this is a rhetorical question, know someone who was diagnosed with cancer or any other disease, okay, that has had a tremendous amount of stress in their life? Maybe they've had a death in their family. There could be a drug addiction in their family, a divorce, any number of things. And when people do not manage their stress, once again, I use that, play on words. The body is at dis-ease. The body is not at ease. Okay. And this can also play a critical role in storing excess visceral fat. So when the body produces cortisol, when somebody's stressed, that increases how much visceral fat a person stores. So again, stress management isn't really exercise, in a fine little box, but exercise plays a huge role in stress management, physically and emotionally. Now, while somebody's exercising, we can incorporate meditation, whether it be at the beginning or the end of the workout, the warm up or the cool down. It might be focusing on 5 things that you're grateful for, or focusing on healthy cells, whatever's important to that person. And obviously in a yoga practice, this is a huge part of that. But for those of you who are fitness professionals in other realms, we can still incorporate meditation and encourage it. For me personally, when I go to bed at night, and sometimes I'm better than others, I go through a list of all the things that I am grateful for. And I know that's not direct meditation, but that works for me. And changing my mindset to something positive, it's really easy to focus on the negative. And if I told you the shit storm that I've had in my life over the last 10 years, one would wonder how I'm still standing. But you have a choice. Even all of us right now dealing with loss of life with COVID, loss of jobs, loss of income, loss of, relationships. We have a choice of looking at our glasses half full or half empty. And those who are looking at it at half full are probably still doing really well with their businesses, with their attitude, where the people who decide to look at their glasses half empty are depressed. They don't want to get out of bed. They're unmotivated. Everything is, oh, woe's me. And honestly, I don't have a whole lot of patience for that. I do when I'm starting working with somebody, but if people aren't willing to help themselves, then there's no amount of training or coaching or counseling that's going to help them. People have to take the initiative. Anne is asking, would you say that the perception of cancer being a sentence instead of a symptom is part of the sentence? So let me see if I understand this. I'm going to try and interpret it. Are you speaking of a sentence like a life sentence, like something that you're being sentenced to, as opposed to a symptom perhaps of an unhealthy lifestyle? I'll wait for some clarity on that. Okay. Yeah. I think that cancer is a symptom of our body being unhealthy in many different areas. And, when you're looking at the immune system, I feel that there are 4 pillars of a strong immune system: stress management, sleep, proper diet, and that includes, many things, one of which is getting enough protein, and exercise. So if we cut corners on any of them, that is affecting our immune system. And, genetics only accounts for 5 to 10% of all cancers. So that means the other 90 to 95% are symptomatic, and they are not, a sentence like, hey, I've got the BRCA gene, so I've got an 87% chance of getting breast cancer, which means that we are in control. So many of you may be dealing with clients or patients once they have cancer, but we are missing out on a huge opportunity to educate and help people and let them know that this doesn't have to be their sentence. This doesn't have to be their outcome. And you just reinforced what I said about mindset. If you focus on getting cancer every day of your life, you're probably going to get it. It's that self-fulfilled prophecy. And let me tell you, as a cancer survivor, I have to work very hard at not going down that rabbit hole. You've got a bump, you've got a lump, you've got a headache, you've got a pain that doesn't go away. Yes, I would not be human if I didn't go to, oh God, I have ovarian cancer, or I have this cancer, that cancer. And then I just go, stop it, Andrea, stop it. And sometimes that's not as easy as other times. But I do. My God, mindset is huge. And not to rag on my mother. She's got many challenges. She's had breast cancer 3 times. We lost my dad 6 years ago. She struggles with depression. And that doesn't help, of course, having a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, but her mindset, God, she struggles so much with that. She just cannot find that, the positivity. And no matter how many days any of us have left in our life, you have a choice of wasting it or finding something good, something valuable. And, I've gone through periods of depression in my life, severe depression, and fallen prey to, laying in bed all day, not wanting to get up, not wanting to do anything, not taking care of myself, drinking too much, whatever the case is. And, eventually you're going to hit rock bottom, and we each have our different level of rock bottom. Some people stay there and others pick themselves up by the bootstraps and say, you know what? This is my one and only life, and I'm not wasting it in this misery. And I know I'm going off on a totally other tangent right now, but it is all part of it. Thank you for sharing your story, Anne. I know it's hard to open up a lot of times, but in sharing what we've all been through, I think we find that we're not alone. Other people are going through the same exact thing that we are, or we have been. So, okay, back to this little slide here. Acupuncture, that's another way to, manage stress, massage therapy. But once somebody has cancer, they really need to go to a massage therapist who specializes in working with oncology patients. And we do on our cancer, www.thecancerspecialist.com, there is a link for massage and skincare through Christine Clinton, who is a world-renowned education provider on that. Deep breathing. This relaxes us. This helps us to calm everything down. And this also increases our lymphatic flow and helps. The lymphatic system is there to defend our body against infection and other harmful agents. So as we keep our lymphatic system working optimally, obviously, we are going to be better able to fight off those things. And it's also going to help prevent or minimize the swelling associated with lymphedema. So I usually start off my training with a client with a little, aerobic warm up, then some deep belly breathing, doing my 5 gratitudes, and then go into their exercise programming from there. But I like to incorporate each of these elements. And then, of course, aerobic exercise, which I'm having people do for the warm up. And if people want to do more aerobic exercise at the end, by all means, whatever they can tolerate. So we know that working out helps the body lower its cortisol levels, and the release of the endorphins combined with the reduction of cortisol will help people to feel calm and more in control of their life. And this is a key element because cancer strips you of everything. And I'm sorry for those of you who've heard me talk many times, you're going to hear this over and over. This is like my mantra. Cancer strips you of everything: your hair, your body parts, your well-being, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, sometimes your finances, sometimes your spouse, your job. So exercise, whether it be, on somebody's own or working with a fitness professional trained in working with oncology exercise, can help people to regain control of their lives and their bodies at a time they feel they have none. And if that is not empowering, I do not know what is. So the American Cancer Society, along with the American College of Sports Medicine, recommends that people get around 150 minutes of moderate intensity or 75 minutes of high intensity or vigorous aerobic activity each week. And so preventatively, this is spot on. Now, this stays the same once people have cancer, but what changes is that not everybody is going to fit into this perfect little box. Not everybody can do 30 minutes at a time. And so you need to be able to understand your client's specific needs and limitations and be able to modify the exercise program accordingly, finding that perfect combination of aerobic exercise, stress management, breathing, flexibility, range of motion, strength training, and balance. And that can vacillate. It can change during a workout. It can certainly change from week to week, from month to month. And there are all different variables that can play into that. So Anne says, you had cancer of the mind for over 5 years, thought you would die of it or kill yourself. Thank heaven it's totally turned around. I am absolutely glad for that. And 3 times 10 minutes. Yeah, that's what I often tell people. So if somebody's undergoing treatment, first off, there are different levels that they should be working out at. And we use the Carvonen heart rate method, which takes into consideration resting heart rate, which can be affected by certain cancer treatments. And there's low, moderate, high intensity, depending on where they're at in treatment. But then that can also be broken up into different exercise sessions throughout the day. So, for anybody who's interested in working with cancer patients and learning more, that's why we've created this course, because an expert is not made simply by watching a few webinars. The goal is to educate you and enlighten you. But we have 500 pages of materials, and we teach it similar to a mathematical equation, like A plus B plus C plus D equals the end workout or exercise program. And you can't skip any of the elements or you're not going to get the appropriate protocol. So exercise has a direct link to boosting the immune system. It can actually help flush bacteria out of the lungs and airways. So there's a chance that can reduce the chance of getting a cold, flu, or other illness. Obviously, we're all, worried about COVID right now. It can also change the body's antibodies, and specifically the white blood cells. And there's a possibility that that brief rise in body temperature during and immediately after that afterburn phase of exercise can minimize the growth of bacteria. And then just to reiterate, we know that exercise reduces the production of cortisol or stress hormones, and that also lowers the risk of illness. So do we need to say it again? We must manage our stress. So let's wrap this up with, we just talked about all the different ways exercise can help in prevention. And if you were with me on, I think it was Tuesday, I did go through, actual exercise for cancer patients, but I just want to kind of recap that and put a nice little bow on this, because during treatment, there are so many studies that demonstrate over and over that physical exercise following a cancer diagnosis will have a positive effect on someone's quality of life. And whether they were exercising previously or they are just getting started, the benefits are across the board. So we see patients or clients that are stronger mentally and physically. So we are truly empowering them through exercise, through regaining control of their minds and their bodies. And we see clients and patients with increased stamina, increased functional capacity. So what does that mean? What does functional capacity mean? That is their ability to perform the activities of daily living that are required on a day-to-day basis, or those that bring meaning to their life. And so when you're choosing exercises, you have to ask yourself, why are you picking this specific one? This isn't just some random, do 2 chests, 2 back, 2 shoulders, 2 biceps, so on and so forth, which is how we used to do it in the day. You just put people through a circuit. This exercise will help people to deal with the physical side effects of treatment. It can actually minimize treatment side effects and improve treatment tolerance. So in order for the treatment to work, people have to be able to withstand the side effects. We see people who have an increased or improved satisfaction with life and decreased pain. So cancer pain can be from the tumor pressing on a nerve or a group of nerves. It could be from surgery and recovery from surgery or reconstruction. There could be a radiation burn, burn from hyperthermia. There are so many different things that can lead to pain. And exercise can help reduce pain, of course, through endorphins. So if we just took improved treatment tolerance and decreased pain, it seems that just those 2 things alone should be reason that every medical professional should be prescribing exercise for their clients. Now, the problem is that the doctors are well-intentioned in that, hey, yes, you need to exercise, but they don't have the time and usually not the inclination or training to give their patients an exercise program. So that's where a cancer exercise specialist comes in and fills that gap, fills that need. So, right now we have, here is the medical and here is the fitness or survivorship. Okay. And here is this big, moat with alligators and sharks in there. And what's happening is you've got cancer patients standing right on the edge. And in many cases, they're falling in here because there is no bridge to get them to the other side. And that has always been the goal of myself and the Cancer Exercise Training Institute, is to provide the next step in the healthcare continuum. And this allows us as fitness professionals to work hand in hand with the physios, with the PTs, the OTs, the doctors, the nurses, the patient navigators for the best outcome for their patients. And, not only the physical, but the psychological, because most people with cancer will deal with some level of depression, as they go through the stages of grief. And this can, of course, affect their sleep. And if people are not getting proper sleep, they are not healing. So this results in less fatigue overall. And 76% of cancer patients report mind-blowing fatigue. So exercise done properly should increase someone's energy mentally and physically. if your clients or yourself are walking away feeling more exhausted than when they began, you have done too much. In recovery, we are actually able, through a comprehensive assessment, to determine muscle imbalances that are leading to postural deviations. And these postural deviations can result in improper tracking of the joints and long-term joint degeneration. So this can all be prevented or minimized through the proper prescription of exercise and the combination of strength training and stretching. Can also help to minimize pain, and the pain in recovery can be different from different things. It could be pain from having an expander, stretching out the skin to put a breast implant in. So many different things can be linked to the pain, and we can help minimize it with the endorphins produced from exercise. We can also help identify and correct limited range of motion. And if we do not help them to regain range of motion in all planes of motion prior to incorporating strength training, we potentially are going to set them back, because they are not going to get their range of motion back. They will become stronger in this limited plane and pattern of movement, which can alter everything, especially functional activities. So we teach you how to use a goniometer, how to take range of motion measurements, and what are the norms. You have to have something to compare to. We have people with balance issues, which can be caused by any number of things. It could be age. It could be just not being a physically active person. It could be from neuropathy. And peripheral neuropathy, which is burning, tingling, numbness, pain in the feet, toes, hands, fingers, can be caused by diabetes and or chemotherapy. And diabetes is also a potential side effect of chemotherapy. So it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So people have to work on balance, but we need to make sure that they are safe and that there is virtually no risk of falling. Lymphedema, I already told you, that's swelling, and exercise done properly can increase the lymphatic flow and help to prevent or minimize associated swelling. If someone has had an amputation, there is typically also a muscle imbalance. So when, for example, somebody has a sternocleidoid mastoid muscle removed in a radical neck dissection, you're going to have synergistic dominance where the scalenes, the levators, the upper traps take over. And then you have this chain reaction of imbalance throughout the kinetic chain. So we need to identify where the imbalance starts and then look at the entire body as far as correcting muscle imbalances and poor movement patterns. And all of this will help people to perform their activities of daily living pain-free and ultimately help improve self-confidence, self-esteem, and body image, which can be destroyed with a cancer diagnosis, surgery, and treatment. And then survivorship. So, throughout the whole process of surgery and treatment, you've got your oncologist, you've got your surgeon, you've got your primary care doctor, you've got the nurses, you've got your whole medical team that has been there for you and is your safety net. And then suddenly you're done and you're super relieved that treatment is over. But there's also this feeling of being scared and alone because you don't have that support team in place. I mean, you do, but you're not seeing them as regularly. Some people will have a renewed sense of life and purpose. And that's the whole glass half full, half empty, where they're like, you know what, cancer was the best thing that happened to me. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to stop and smell the coffee. I'm going to spend more time with my family. I'm going to quit this wretched job that I hate. And others will feel sorry for themselves and they'll play the victim. And, all we can do is, work to help people out of that black hole, but you're still going to have some people that just will not take the high road, and we have no control over that. I can speak from personal experience as a 36-year cancer survivor. There is always a fear that the cancer will come back or that you'll get another cancer. And so being sensitive but aware when somebody has a headache for more than a day, when they have back pain, when they have bone pain, or anything else peculiar. We don't want to scare them and, reinforce that fear. At the same time, we don't want to ignore it because it could be something else. So, part of our job as a cancer exercise specialist is literally that of a cheerleader. We are there to keep people motivated, keep them focused on positive things, not just exercise, but mindset. And, just not to sit there and talk about all our woes. Their time is their time and it's about them. Somebody just asked if there's a way to get a copy of this video because they hopped on late, and absolutely, the recordings will be sent out this afternoon. So if you do not get it, you can write me at andrea@thecancerspecialist.com. So lastly here, the transition from active care, while people are still undergoing treatment, they have their regular appointments, to post-treatment care is critical in the long-term health of the cancer patient, now survivor. And I know most of the studies have been done with breast cancer, but there is actually like a 20 or 25% increased life expectancy in a group that exercises versus the group that does not exercise. So just to recap all of this, by educating people about, diet, exercise, mental health, strong immune system, how to avoid oxidative stress, we can help minimize disease, of course, including cancer. We can help people get through treatment with fewer side effects, less pain, just overall better quality of life. We can help them recover from the detrimental side effects of surgery. We can help prevent future side effects because we have acute and chronic side effects of cancer treatment, and improve overall survivorship. So taking into consideration all of that information, how many of you, and this is non-committal, okay? I'm not asking you to press the button, but how many of you are interested in working with cancer patients? How many of you would like to up level your qualifications to, fill the time in your gym or your personal training schedule when, maybe the younger or the healthier people are at work? If you'd like to write something, you may. If not, we can leave it as a rhetorical question. But I'm working with Dan Ritchie and the Functional Aging Institute because there's perfect synergy. Functional aging is the umbrella. And then, of course, you have all types of disease and degeneration under that umbrella. And cancer is a big one because 65%, of the baby boomer population at some point in their lifetime will get cancer. So this is a tremendous opportunity. If you guys are struggling with gym closures and losing your clients, it kind of comes back to that, are you going to be a doer, or are you going to just talk about how your life is not going the way you want? We're going to give you the tools to create a new, let's call it a genre that, of people that you can train. We're going to give you the skills to position yourself as the next step in that healthcare or medical continuum, and give you all of the tools, from the forms that you need to press releases, to listing you on the directories so that people can find you. This isn't just, hey, here's a piece of paper, hang it on your wall. We want you to succeed. We want you to get clients, because if you do not, then that means that the cancer patients, the aging population, are not finding you. We know they need you. We know they want you. It's just a matter of, holding somebody's hands and getting them to the properly trained people. So we've got, I think there's just one more webinar with Dan tomorrow, and then we start our training next week, which is, I believe it's 3 weeks, and you meet with Dan twice and myself twice a week. You end up with the cancer exercise specialist and functional aging specialist certifications. Plus, we're throwing in all kinds of other coursework in there. I think you're going to get the breast cancer recovery BOSU specialist. You're going to get the functional aging group exercise. And if you want to do a payment plan, you only need to come up with $99 to start with, which is pretty phenomenal. And then you'll get billed monthly. Or you can save $600 off of the single payment option. You've got your code right there, and you can go to ceti.teachable.com to register. You can also write me at andrea@thecancerspecialist.com, or at this bottom one, empowersurvivor@earthlink.net, or contact me through any of these other venues. If you already have the FAS certification or the CES and you just would like to add the other one to your toolbox. So I'm going to spend the last couple minutes here answering any questions you might have. Let me hit the chat box here. Okay, so Sheila, would love to answer any questions that you have. And let's face it, I don't know if any of you have seen my posts, but I've done a couple things on, crazy, sexy cancer, and that, cancer isn't sexy and aging isn't sexy. And you know what? No, it's not. But I'm here to tell you that cancer survivors can actually be pretty damn sexy. And so can aging people, because I'm both. But this isn't just about tooting my own horn, but I'm the only one here. I'd point to other hot, sexy cancer survivors and aging people. Bottom line is, though, that they have the need, the desire, the time, and the money, in most cases, okay, to afford your services. Kim, you're asking how much time needs to be allowed to participate. So it'll be 4 hours of webinars a week. They will all be recorded. So if you cannot be there live, you will still have access to that, or if you just need to review it. And then you have 6 months to complete the courses. If you need extra time, you just let us know. You'll have 2 different platforms. So you'll have the functional aging course and the FAI materials on one platform, and then you'll have the CETI materials on the other. So, they're set up a little bit differently, but everything is downloadable. You'll have handbooks, videos, which we call them PowerPoint presentations, practice quizzes, and final exams. And we've tried to make it as easy and straightforward as possible. And, Dan and I will be working with you over the next month to, give you that FaceTime, if you will, and be able to answer questions right there, because it is a lot of content. We have some heavy oncology in the cancer exercise course, but I try and help you to focus on what pertains to you as a fitness professional. So, know what to really spend your time focusing on versus what can sort of be gray matter in the background. So, Anne, hopefully you're doing the haha yes about the sexy factor. All right, let's see what else we got here. Just statements, not questions. Okay, can excessive exercise compromise white blood cell count, immune system? Yes, Kim. I believe, in fact, you can absolutely overdo it. And, that's why it's really important to know how hard, how often. So really to be able to control frequency, intensity, and duration. Kim, again, if you can reach out at andrea@thecancerspecialist.com. We will have somebody get back to you. It may be me, it may be Greg, or somebody else, but we will answer any questions you have and help you to make the decision. Anything else you guys want to know? Pick my brain about, or, whether it's about the course, anything we just covered. Okay, Shri, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. You want to know the difference between the 2 certs. So the functional aging specialist will go into all of the comorbidities that go along with aging, and that can include, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, arthritis, heart disease, umbrella, and of course cancer is under that, but not in any great detail. Where the cancer exercise specialist course takes you through 27 types of cancer, all of the surgeries, the acute and chronic side effects of the surgeries, as well as treatments, lymphedema identification, prevention, and management. We go into the human microbiome and stress management, type C personality. Also, and most importantly is the exercise programming. And we teach you how to do a comprehensive postural assessment, modified Thomas test, use a goniometer, and actually know how to get from A to Z with the exercise programming. So hopefully that helps. Okay, let me put the address here. Andrea at thecancerspecialist.com. And if you look on the screen right in front of you, you'll also see another email that you can contact me through here at empowersurvivor@earthlink.net. So you can take your pick. All right, good. So I think I have answered everybody's questions. I want to thank you again for being here today and participating with me. And I hope that you will take this information and, use it to get out there on your social media networks and start building that audience. Build that audience of people who know, like, and trust you by being that information source. Sheila, I see your hand is raised. I don't know if that's new or old. But if you have another question, go ahead and pop it in the Q&A real quick. Otherwise, you can send me an email because I can't allow you to speak. I don't believe through this webinar platform. So for everybody else, I bid you a fond adieu. Have a wonderful afternoon or evening, perhaps morning. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in our upcoming training program. Take care.